Welcome to a new edition of Harness Central. I'm Harold Howe. I'm in Beamsville today with Dave Drew, modern legend fame. Just before we begin, just want you to know it was minus 14 when I started out. Last night I talked to a friend in Australia. It was plus 30. Just so you know.
You're making me feel bad here.
Okay.
Feeling a little chill.
Well, if you were chilled, you weren't Saturday night because modern legend made his return after having been gone 19 months, an enormous mile in the preferred at Woodbine. So where has he been?
Well, he's had some time off. I think everything that's contributed to that relates to his feet, and he's progressed. I had started to train him down a couple of different times, and then ended up backing off. I just didn't see him progressing the way I thought he needed to. Obviously, he needs to compete big time with horses such as he competed Saturday night, a good field of horses, and I didn't quite see that he was coming back to where I thought he needed to be. So backed off a couple of times through the summer and into the fall. He's been training down well and continued to train well. Had two good qualifiers and looked like he was feeling good and feeling like he was back to himself, and he showed that Saturday.
Of course, people remember the 2014 Canadian Pacing Derby. That had to be one of the great accomplishments of the last 20 years by any horse. He was in a field with 4 from the Ron Burke stable. No pretenders in there. He not only beat them, he ran away from them in the end. In this last number of months, how many times have you played that tape over?
Well, I've played it a few times. My grandsons like to watch it for sure, so every time they're over, they're asking me to play the race again, and they're reliving it. So, and it's nice for me to relive it too. He's a phenomenal animal, and he's really been a top performer.
Well, in that season, when I review it, it was interesting to reflect that. Well, first of all, today it's surprising he's just under $1 million, and I sort of had in my head, well, gee, he'd be well beyond that. But that year was absolutely punishing in that division. I mean, you look at his lines, how many 48, 49, 50 miles, and sometimes there wasn't coffee money out of it.
Yeah, that's true. It was a phenomenal field of horses, and it was very frequent that there would be 5 or 6 at the wire that would be within a length or a length and a half, and if you're back 2 lengths, you might not get a check, or you get a small check with it. So it was very good field of horses and top performers. He was very competitive in there and stayed with them, but didn't get any big wins out of it other than the Canadian Pacing Derby.
People may or may not know this is the only horse you train, and you're listed as a trainer, but really you're more than that. You're a personal trainer almost. And I mean, we just don't see stuff like that in this day and age where virtually, Dave, I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth, but you were dedicated to this horse, and chances are if he'd been in a big operation, he'd have been gone long ago.
Well, I certainly spend time with him and take care of him myself, which probably, because I have the time to do it, probably adds to it. But the reality is he's a phenomenal animal, and if you listen to him, he'll tell you what's going on, and once you get to know him, and that's what I've been trying to do the last year and a half to bring him back.
He's no kid anymore. Is the wear and tear showing on him? Like the foot thing, I understand that, but that aside, it's a lot of pounding and whatnot. You swim him, always have, which seems to agree with him. But I mean, how do you feel he's standing to the strain of things?
Well, he's shown he could do what he could do Saturday. The long term, I don't know. He is older, certainly. He doesn't show it in terms of his attitude or his approach. He's a very good attitude horse, and stays fresh, and has stayed fresh even when he was racing extensively in the Grand Circuit. He managed to keep himself staying fresh. So, I can't predict the future with him. With any horse, it's week by week, and see what happens. So we'll see what happens in January.
Is the plan more or less to keep him close to home?
Well, certainly at this point in time, plan to race him at Woodbine, get back probably in January and race him. Don't intend to race him heavily. I never have, and would expect that I race him periodically and see how he progresses. But I expect he'll stay in Canada as far as I can see.
It's hard to be objective about one's own horse, but how, and the book isn't done on him yet, but how would you like people to remember him?
Probably the biggest highlight is the one you referred to, his Canadian Pacing Derby. I mean, he was at the top of his game. David Miller drove him perfectly, gave him a perfect trip, and he just powered forward. I mean, that's clearly a highlight for me.
Did Miller have anything to say that night after the race, at any point, that sticks in your mind?
Well, he said the horse was just phenomenal. He said, when he came around the last turn, they had already gone tough fractions, and he had a lot more horse than he expected to have coming through the last turn. And he just once he set him free in the stretch, he just excelled.
Well, let's hope we have more of that again in the months ahead, Dave. Thanks very much for sharing your thoughts, and congratulations with Modern Legend. It was a great job to get him back.
Thanks very much.
Harold Howe, Dave Drew, giving you the Harness Racing Edge.